So, I was just watching some of my old videos, and I realized that I used to spend a lot of time trying to, justify who I was, and where I came from, what happened, you know. And it's so stupid because I don't have to justify anything to anyone. But at the same time, it took me so long to realize that because every step of this transition process so far, I've had at least fucking everyone saying, "Oh well, we don't know what you're talking about." "Oh yeah, well, prove it to me. Prove to me that you're trans. Prove to me." Like I've lost so many friends because you know, I'm incapable of dealing with shit like that. And really, in the last year or so, that I've been unable to transition for financial reasons, I've learned so much about sticking up for myself. I'm a very non confrontational person by nature, but I've learned so much about sticking up for myself, about saying, no, fuck off, I don't have to explain myself to you, I don't have to rationalize it to you, I don't have to do anything, I don't owe you anything, you know, if you don't accept me for who I am, then you don't deserve to be in my life. It's taken me so long to be able to say that to anyone. I still haven't said those exact words to any single person, but just that kind of attitude, that kind of, you know, if you don't accept me, then that's your loss. That kind of attitude took me so long to develop. I haven't actually had that mentality. And the thing is, people expect trans people to have a sort of they expect us to answer all of their questions and to be nice about it, to be polite about it, to just do whatever they want us to. And it's stupid because why would they expect that? You asking me why I'm trans is like me asking you so why do you like sports? Is that just an expression of your masculinity? I wouldn't do that because I'm not stupid. I'm not a jerk, you know. But it's taken me so long to realize that I don't have to give in to people like that. I don't have to justify myself to anyone. Like, even my own flesh and blood, I don't have to. Like, in the beginning of stages of my transition, my parents would always be like, well, you were like this at this age. You were like that at that age. How can you say you're trans now? You know? And I've always had to, find ways to justify it. I've always had to come up with witty anecdotes and things that really happened, and, well, look at this picture, and look at this story I wrote. Now I've realized that I don't have to justify anything to anyone. You know, a lot of people think of being trans as being something that you're born with, and I definitely agree. And at the same time, a lot of people think of being trans as something that has a time frame. I completely disagree with that. You know, if I didn't know until I was 21, I didn't fucking know till I was 21. It's not so much that it's not a time limit thing. It's not something that you can be like, oh, well, you didn't know when you were 5 years old. It's just not. It's not like that. It doesn't work like that. It's been there. It's been latent. It's been dormant in me my whole life. And the fact that I'm just coming to terms with it now through a lot of therapy, because I am very good at blocking things out. I am very good at ignoring things. I'm very passive aggressive. I'm very much non-confrontational. And I have a confrontational identity by nature. I have something in me that many people disagree with morally. Many people don't even think I exist. Like, there are so many people in the world who just don't think that people like me even exist. How does that feel, right? So, for me to come to terms with it, even though I've had friends who are this way, even though I've read all about it, but I never applied it to myself because I was like, well, I didn't know from a young age. No one ever gave me the option to know at a young age. Like, if I were to tell my parents when I was like 5, oh, I'm a guy, they probably would have completely ignored it. They would have been like, oh, you're going through a weird phase right now. And then like years later, be like, hey, remember your guy phase? So it's not really. I think I did, really. When I think back in my life, I think I've known my whole life. I think I've just been ignoring it. There's this. It's weird because I'm more at peace with myself right now than I have been in a long time. I still hate myself. I still think I'm a scumbag. But at least I'm content with my identity. I know who I am. I know what I stand for. I don't always stand up for myself, but I do stand for something. And what I stand for is not necessarily something that most people can identify with, but it's who I am. And to deny me that right based on the fact that I haven't known who I am my whole life is just stupid. You know, it's taken me so long to realize that. I mean, there are trans women who come out when they're 40. Everyone's like, oh wow, you're so brave. I'm a trans man coming out at 22, I guess, or 23. Everyone's like, wow, you're such a late bloomer. You know, fuck off. Like, there have been little hints here and there throughout my life. I never put it all together until recently. That doesn't make me any less trans than the rest of you. That doesn't make me any less of a person, in general. That just doesn't, it has no bearing on my identity, on my personality. I don't have to justify anything to anyone. And it's taken me so long to figure that out. I had to figure it out on my own because no amount of anyone telling me that could have inspired me that way. I had to actually, realize it on my own. I'm like that. I'm really fucking stubborn, right? So if something, I have to come to my own conclusions, even if someone already told me that before. I have to figure it out on my own. If that makes any sense. So, this to me, this whole trans thing, everyone says, oh, you can't just wake up one day and be trans. You don't know how long I've been trans for. I didn't know how long I've been trans for. I've been trans for my whole life. I just didn't know it until recently. And that's one of the reasons I left Tumblr, was because I kept coming across these people who would say things like, oh, well, you're a trans trender, and shit like that. Anyone who ever uses that term unironically can get out of my life forever. I've known, indirectly, I knew one person who thought they were trans for a while, and it turns out they're not. It's just the fact that all their friends were trans, and they kind of, they thought they might have been too. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with detransitioning. Do what you want to do with your life. Do what feels right. If you thought you were a guy and you took hormones and you realized you're not a guy, that is not a fucking, that's not a reason to hate somebody, and it's not a reason to talk shit about them. That was a personal struggle. Some people are misdiagnosed with all sorts of things. If you get misdiagnosed as having, let's see, for instance, one time I went to the doctor's office, I was diagnosed, not officially, but they told me they thought I might have a brain tumor, right? Because I was having migraines every day, I was really dizzy, I was weird, so I got a migraine, so I got an MRI, and it turns out that I don't have a brain tumor. Awesome, terrific, but for a while there I thought I had a brain tumor, right? That's kind of how being trans is for people like that. They think they might be trans. Okay, well, it is a bit extreme to start treating him for it and giving him hormones and everything like that. But if at some point down the line you realize I'm not actually trans, nothing wrong with that. You could be genderqueer, you could be agender, you could be FTMDF, and that's cool, that's fine, that's groovy. I don't think that people like that are giving a bad name to our community. I think people like that should be allowed to explore themselves. If you feel like the manly life isn't for you, then that's fine. More tea for the rest of us, right? If people were like, oh, well, there's a tea shortage. You know what? I've never heard a single trans woman complain about there being estrogen shortage. Is there one? I don't even know if there is one. Um, and if there is a tea shortage, we shouldn't be blaming people who, decide that the trans life wasn't for them for various reasons. It's not always even that they were like doing it as everyone else was doing it. Maybe you start tea and then you start getting blood clots and you're like, holy shit, I don't want blood clots, and you get off tea. There is nothing wrong with that, right? So, I'm kind of ranting right now, but if you don't have to justify yourself to anyone. You are your own person, and you can go through as many fucking trial periods as you want to. Because that is life. Life is a huge set of trials. And anyone who doesn't realize that is a scumbag. Anyone who doesn't realize that, anyone who has been set in their ways for so long, they've been doing the same thing their whole life and they know exactly what they want out of life. That's a fucking rarity. People like me, who have no idea what they're doing with their lives, no idea who we are. I mean, I'm getting there. But, like, people like me, you know, who don't know anything for a fact, are the true people in the world. We are the ones who keep things interesting. Who keep things genuine. Who I don't see any like. Here's what I don't get. I don't see anything wrong with trying things on. Okay, I had my weird raver phase where I decided to be hyper feminine and wear like long nails and a shit ton of makeup and a bunch of candy. I had that time in my life. And does it play a part in who I am today? Yeah, I still fucking love happy hardcore, but I don't dress like that anymore. I don't act like that anymore. I don't fucking look like that anymore. Um, the thing people don't realize is that every phase we go through in our lives culminates into who we are. I understand that being trans shouldn't be a phase. Yes, absolutely. If you're treating a phase medically, that's kind of extreme. But we shouldn't demonize those people. If I ever hear anyone saying someone's a transgender, I will immediately stop talking to them. I have one friend who is true scum, and I just try not to talk about it with him, but, it's stupid. It's stupid to judge other people. It's stupid to judge complete strangers. You know, I just wish we could all get along. I wish, like, the whole trans community could just get along and realize that we all have different tales, we all have different stories. Really, the main point of this video, which I keep forgetting, is that we don't have to justify ourselves to anyone. Anyone. You are who you are. You know who you are. You alone know your experiences and what's in your mind. And even though some people can help you find who you are, in the end, it's all you. You know who you are. You know what you want out of life. You know what you're doing. And I don't see anything wrong with that. Sorry. I get kind of emotional about these things.